have seen a miracle. I have seen a miracle. Blessed days with you in the corner of my arm. I have seen a miracle.
Good morning, Allison.
Good morning.
Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Krista. Good morning, Mizu. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Rachel. Rachel is fixing us up with some hair of the dog and making Caesars.
You buy protein water bottles, this is what they're for. Got the ball in there and everything. Get it all mixed up.
Nick's just gotta go to work. Bye, Nick.
Do the chain exchange.
Safe drive.
Mizu's ready to
See
go
ya.
home.
You want to keep your radio on until you get out?
Comfort.
No, I think I'm part of it.
Before Nick left, I convinced him to stick around for one more drone shot. Unfortunately, not everyone can stay away from work all the time. Though Nick had to leave for now, he'll be back for the next leg of the journey. All of us have full-time jobs, as I'm sure most of you do as well. But it's not news that being outdoors in nature is good for our mental health. It's like taking a little break from life with no chores or bills to worry about for a while. Today, more than 50% of people live in an urban environment, and it's supposed to increase to 70% of all people by 2050. There are many studies that suggest mood disorders increase in urban environments. So being here, where we are, is truly therapeutic.
Will guide you, but you find it on your own. Oh.
It was a scorching hot day in the valley, with plenty of mosquitoes to drink our blood and warm us up even further. A trip down to the river to cool off is the obvious solution before going out to explore.
You got this. Just do a push-up.
That is very, very, very cold. Good. It's winter in it. It's like, it's not bad.
In case you're curious, the water temperature was about 4 degrees Celsius, or 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it's not exactly swimmable, but it was very, very refreshing and very cooling indeed. What you cooking, good looking?
I'm making quesadillas.
Quesadillas. Steak quesadillas looks like.
The first one is too buttery.
Too buttery. Is there really such a thing though?
I don't know. You be the judge. When it's your turn to eat it. It's a little shiny.
Look at that. That looks awesome.
Might be an abandoned mine.
Going straight that way?
Going up the way that we are going up, I think. Do we go up this road here?
That's right.
Okay, so if you keep going, it goes to turn with a dotted line. I'm not sure what that means.
So we headed down the road to explore the area some more. We wanted to see for ourselves the remnants of some of the stories we've heard about this area and some of the history that we've learned. Despite the burned down trees, the views of the mountains are unbelievably beautiful. The vastness of the peaks makes us feel small and insignificant. Not far from where we were camping is an open beachy area where we could have camped next to the river. but that would be without any shade to protect us from the scorching sun. This is also the area where there used to be a bridge heading south that I'd spoken about earlier, but that was crashed in the mudslide. All that remains now is a scorching hot but wicked sweet camping spot.
Came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call past the doctor. I got a 6 cents for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game.
Of course, sand also means a chance for us to play around a little in the 4runners. These 4th gen 4runners are very capable, and the tires that we've put on make them ideal to run around in the sand. There's lots of cool turn-off stops on the main dirt road to get off and explore. But for now, we wanted to keep going. While we stopped for a quick break, Krista pulled out her handy mountain spotting app and educated us a bit more about the peaks that we were surrounded by.
The peak right there on the right is called Plinth Peak, according to my app, Peak Finder. And the one right to the left is called Eager. That's fun.
Very nice. What about that one over there?
So it names the peaks, not the entire mountain. So it's hard to say like exactly which one is which. One of them is called Spidery Peak.
Spidery?
Which I think is funny. And one of them is called
Pika Peak?
which I think is great. Yeah, it's one of those ones kind of where that one tree is sticking up really far. Approximately where they are.
Seeing the beauty of the area is a treat in itself, and learning a thing or two about it only enhances the experience more. So thanks for sharing what you're learning, Krista.
What is it?
So it looks like we found some bear.
Bear fur, yeah.
Yeah. This feels chunky. Like
Yeah, but it's bear fur. It looks like bear fur to me. Even there.
but
that.
it's like there's.
There's a lot of dead trees. Burnt and dead. We're gonna have to ask Courtney. Perhaps she knows a little bit more history about this area, because she is from around this area and spent a significant amount of time here exploring and living. So perhaps she can enlighten us a little bit more about the dead trees.
Covering their tracks, strangers in the light of day. Can't fight it, can't stop.
Having explored further into this area, we headed back to camp. When we got back, life was moving slow back at camp with our friends.
Dark water meets the full moonlight. If we can sneak away, maybe we could be together. Candlelight, stop love tonight.
While Ryan relaxed in the hammock, I looked for Courtney. Since Courtney grew up in this area, I figured she could help us understand more about the cause of the burnt trees.
So there was a giant landslide, and the entire side of the mountain gave way. But then in 2000 and I want to say 14, but I'm not quite sure. There was also a really big forest fire. It started out super small. We thought it was contained, and then all of a sudden it blew through Pemberton Valley like this back end. And so you can kind of see the devastation from that. So sometimes when you're driving along the road, you're like, this is the apocalypse. Everything's burnt. There's huge boulders everywhere. There's trees that are crushed. And that's basically just, lots of natural hazards.
Wow, you seem to know a lot about this place. How do you know so much?
So I grew up here. I lived here as a child. And obviously, you don't really pay much attention to rocks. But I do remember being a kid and our basement flooded up to the ceiling. And my dad's the dike was flooded, and so it was a 10-year floodplain. And so that's why the dikes are built up so much. And you see a lot of houses along Pemberton with huge foundations, twice the height of a man or whatever, 12 feet tall, 20 feet tall. And that's because they're in expectation of the fact that one day the dikes will be overwhelmed and it'll be flooded. anyways, later on in life, I came back to Pemberton in a professional capacity. My undergrad's in environmental studies, and so I was working for a company that builds independent power projects. And so actually the road that we're camping on today, like all along it, on and off, has probably spent like a year and a half here. And then across the valley, I sort of specialize in helicopter access work for the companies that I work for. So yeah, that's kind of why I know a lot about here. And that landslide buried a lot of the construction equipment for the company that I work for. And then it also burnt a lot of the transmission line that the company that I work for had built. So we actually had jackets made that say "Come hell or high water," because of like the natural adversity that we faced. I made accidentally made 25 burger patties.
Accidentally made 25 burger patties?
Well, I have terrible spatial reasoning, so I don't know. It looked like it was not enough, and then it ended up being a lot of meat.
Can we get a sneak peek? Oh yeah, look at that.
Baby.
These were, without a doubt, the best burgers I've had while camping. Don't believe me? Ask Rachel. She knows what's up. See, it's even got Rachel's stamp of approval. So after enjoying dinner, it was time to get a tour of Ryan and Rachel's Tacoma.
Do you want to tell me about your vehicle?
Oh, let me tell you about my rig. We started with our 2019 Toyota Tacoma TRD Offroad in cement gray, and now it's got a little dust, that's as BC back roads will do for you. It's slightly modified, it's not too crazy. I fluid filmed the shit out of the frame because these are known to rust the second any water touches it immediately. So every year I fluid film it. The next modification we did is I have a set of airbags, the ride-rite Firestone airbags with the Daystar cradles for off-roading on there. That's just to help with the weight of the camper, but we'll get to the camper later. The next mod I did was these aluminum sliders from a guy in near Victoria. They're Greenlane Offroad aluminum sliders, and they weigh each about 40 pounds, I believe. I can carry them with one arm when they're not mounted, which is really impressively light. And apparently they're just as strong as steel ones, but they also tell you not to use a high lift jack on them, so I'm not sure. But it's for what we do and for what I do, it's perfect. There's also 2 rows of L-track on the roof, and so we're running front runner bars, and we're running 160 watts of solar. It's a Renogy 160 watt hard panel. We had soft panels before that, but these hard panels are way better. The best modification we've made since moving to BC is probably this old boy right here. It's your Amazon special, I don't even know what BA stands for, badass I'm gonna go for badass hitch skid plate, because before we had this, we were bumping that hitch every second. And it was a little scary, It was a little scary. This is called a Vagabond Drifter. They're made a little bit north of San Francisco. And it's these guys that were hanging out in Tacoma World, and they saw a hole in the market to make a camper that's kind of a lightweight aluminum welded camper that's strong enough to off-road, and that doesn't kind of overload a Tacoma who has a really anemic payload, right? And they started making them, and this is, I believe, the 140th one that's out in the wild, and I might be the only one in Canada at this point. I know 2 other people who have them on order, but they're waiting for the borders to open. And it all runs off of our 137 amp hour lithium battery down here, which runs our fridge, our diesel heater, and anything else we want to run. This one is called a photographer's nest because you can fully open it.
Nice.
And so you can be up here, you can put the bed all the way to this edge if you want. So here's our bed. It's a little smaller than a full bed. We have a full sheet on here, and it's a little smaller than that. We can keep one thin blanket up here, but we can't keep all our sleeping bags. These side windows open as well, not all the way open. It has 3 layers. The first layer is vinyl, or whatever this fabric is. And then it's a clear vinyl, so you can see through it in the winter and still be warm. And then it has bug netting as well. Right.
What you got there, bud?
Oh, this is a Kelly kettle.
A Kelly kettle?
Oh yeah, it's a way an Irish fisherman invented it about 100 years ago. Same family still makes them in Ireland.
Okay.
It's just a really primitive way to boil some water.
Interesting. So there's just a little fire at the bottom and then a Has a little nozzle?
Actually, the inside is hollow, and the fire is inside the entire column, and it's surrounded by a wall of water. And the water is now boiling. And so we can, if we lift this off, there's going to be fire that comes out from underneath. And you can see the column of fire.
So another day came to an end. Well spent with good company, amazing views, and excellent learning. Next, we'll be packing up and heading out onto the next leg of the journey. You don't want to miss these views and the landscape. We'll be heading to the canyons. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.